Greetings everybody, it's Rob from Say Style Games, and we are here with the next video of our Mad Titan Shadow spoilers. And this is going to be the first one delving down into the villains or the scenarios for this campaign box. And the first villain in the campaign is Ebony Maw himself. Now, as you can see, he is a Black Order. He's a member of the Black Order and a Mystic. Lots of Mystic going on. 2 scheme, 1 attack on his stage 1 form. And his whole gimmick is he has a bunch of spells that he casts. And these spells kind of stay out. And they tick down every time he activates, removes a counter. And once all the counters go off, that's when the spell actually triggers and does something to you. So potentially you can have 2 or 3 spells out and they all trigger at the same time and can potentially wipe you out. So you can see his ability, whenever he activates, removes a counter from each spell card in your area. He has 14 health per player in his stage 1. In stage 2, he has 18 hit points, but he has 2 scheme, 2 attack. And when he comes into play, each player must discard cards from the deck until they find a spell and put a spell into the play area. So that means if you're playing on expert, you'll start the game off with a spell already in play. And in stage 3, same thing. This time he has 3 scheme. He also has 23 hit points per player. So that means at stage 3, for a 2-player game, he has 46 hit points. That's a lot of health. His main scheme is attack on nowhere, which is basically he's attacking nowhere to try and get the Power Stone. Comes with the Armies of Titan and Black Order as the recommended encounter sets. Now, for all the encounter sets, those will be discussed in a later video, so we will not be looking at those specifically. His scheme says, when revealed, each player discards cards from the top of the encounter deck until a spell environment is discarded and puts it into play. So basically, the main scheme gives you a spell card. His stage 2 gives you a spell card. So an expert, you're already looking at 2 spell cards in front of you to begin the game with. You must get to 6 per player. When it advances, it goes to the Power Stone, which pretty much resets the whole deck and then gives you another spell card. And it's just a flat out 9 scheme per player. If it's completed, you lose the game. So what are these spells? Fireball is the first spell. We've seen this card a bit. It is Surge. And key thing to note, all the spell cards have Surge on them. And there's about 8 different, I think, cards. So 8 cards of the 20 basically that have Surge. Combined with some other cards that have potential to Surge as well. Meaning that you have lots of Surge potentially going on because a spell will come out and then another card will come out and you could draw 2, 3 spells in a row, and next thing you know, you're just surrounded with spells and there's no way to actually deal with the spells, period. Like, there's no way to get rid of them unless they just trigger. So this one enters play with 4 counters. After the last one is removed, deal 4 damage to your identity. Key thing for this one, because it activates either if he schemes or attacks, this will hit you in alter ego. So you cannot flip down to avoid the fireball. It will still hit you. You need to be careful about that one. And there's 2 of those. We have manipulation. This one comes into play with 2 counters on it, and it also has Surge, as we've mentioned. When this one goes off, discard 1 card from your hand at random, and you're confused. So, confused plus losing a card from your hand. Pacification comes into play with 3 counters, and that one exhausts each upgrade you control and stuns you. So he has a way to stun you and pretty much get rid of all your upgrades. So, like rockets, pistols, any weapon upgrades basically at that point are all exhausted and stuns you. And he has manipulation to confuse you and make you lose a card. And then he has Rubble Storm, which enters play with 3 counters, and once that one goes off, it deals 2 damage to each creature you control. So 2 damage can probably, if your allies are being used, take them out. So that's an ally killer. So he has a confuse spell, stun spell, a damage spell, and an AoE spell that pretty much can kill allies. So that alone is 4 different spells, 8 cards that have surge on them, to pretty much mean that if they come into play, it'll surge. Now, remember, a card that comes to play from like the main scheme, from his ability on his actual card, those do not trigger the surge. It's only when they flip over from the encounter deck itself. Then we have Agent of Thanos. Alter Ego, place 1 threat on the main scheme for each spell environment in your play area. If you place no threat, this gains surge. In hero form, deal 1 damage to your hero for each spell in your play area. If you take no damage, this card gains surge. So pretty much it punishes you by saying you have 2 or 3 spells on you, that's 2 or 3 threat or 2 or 3 damage. Say you have no spells, well then it surges potentially into another spell, then you get 1 spell, and guess what? That one surges as well. So he's gonna probably be blowing through his deck pretty quickly with all these different cards. And obviously the module sets that come with him will kind of give you some breathing room. So that's the only kind of saving grace there. Then we have Channeling Trance. When revealed, remove 1 counter from each spell environment in your play area. So this just allows him to speed his spells up even faster. And if you have no spells, guess what? You get a spell. Now again, this does not surge, so that's fine. But he's pretty much either going to make all his spells tick down 1, or he's going to just give you a spell. And we got 3 copies of that. So he's definitely going to try and get those spells ticking as fast as he can. And we have Abjuration, a D&D School of Magic. Attached to Ebony Maw, prevent all damage to Ebony Maw. After it prevents 2 or more damage from a single attack, discard it. Now this is clever, because in the past we've had a lot of these shield cards that have pretty much blocked damage from the villain, but they never specify how much sometimes. And what that means is you could usually pick them off with 1 hit. You know, an ally that hits you from 1, you know, even a small little 1 damage from a card you might have is enough to pop this, what's supposed to be this like all-powerful shield, and then you can make the big attack actually hit. This one allows you to kind of, you have to put a little more weight to actually get rid of it. Restrain, attach to the friendly character with the highest attack and exhaust it. You cannot ready. Spend energy and a physical to discard this card, and it's a hero action. So basically, it just shuts down whoever has the highest attack. So 3 attack, 4 attack, probably shut them down. And it just means they cannot ready, period. Not like next time they can't ready. It's they cannot ready at all. So that kind of shuts them down in that sense. Then we have Reactor Overload. Just want to make sure it shows up, at least the main part shows up on the page for you guys. This is the side scheme. When revealed, each player must choose either take 2 damage or place 2 threat. It's kind of this general thing. It is a crisis icon, so keep that in mind. So 3+ if you choose to add more threat to it. It also comes into play with, it has 3 boost icons. That's a pretty high boost in case it flips over. And depending on how much damage you're taking from the fireballs and the rubble storms, that could potentially weaken you down some more. So, and then we have, I think, 2 of those. So 2 side schemes in his entire pack. And that's the entire Ebony Maw set on its own. Again, we're not going to look at the module sets because those can be, you know, exchanged, and they may or may not have direct things related to Ebony Maw himself. So with that, what do we think about Ebony Maw as our final thoughts? Ebony Maw is interesting. When we saw the preview for him, the spells were kind of cool, and it was a cool idea of like these spells ticking off to do damage. I think it's gonna be all dependent on how fast you blow through him, and if you have module sets that don't have many cards in them, then you potentially leave yourself open to getting a lot of spells, having those spells tick down quick. And you know, you just get 2 fireballs, that's 8 damage you can't block, basically. Combined with, you know, one of the side schemes flip, you either add 2 threat or to take 2 damage. You know, 8 damage can almost kill some characters in the game if you have 2 fireballs. And that's not counting his own attack, plus any of the minions that might come in the module sets that you include with this. So I think he's pretty good. It's definitely interesting. Always the first scenario in all the campaigns usually have an interesting kind of mechanic to them. We had Crossbones that had all the weapon upgrades to make himself really powerful. You had Drain who had all the minions. And you have Ebony Maw who kind of has all these spells that can kind of take down and just destroy you. So I think he's definitely not unstoppable. Definitely seems more reasonable. The one thing to note about this one, and I believe we'll double check as we go through this entire box, that none of the main schemes have a 2+ 2 per player scheme on them, meaning you don't have to worry about having so much threat on the board every time like you had to with Galaxy's Most Wanted. So that's at least one good thing. However, we do have, as I've mentioned, 8, potentially up to 10 surge cards, and that's not counting standard cards or expert cards or the module sets that may surge as well. So the surge train is definitely still going strong in this campaign box. That being said, what do you guys think about Ebony Maw? Do you think he's going to be a tough challenge? Do you think he'll be an okay, you know, decent enough challenge that's not too hard to manage? Or will he just be a pushover? Let me know in the comments down below. And make sure to hit that subscribe button for more Marvel Champions content. It will mean the world to me if you subscribe to the channel and help support it. And be sure to follow the channel for more content. I will be producing more of these Mad Titan Shadow reveal videos of all the different scenarios as we've kind of seen all the pictures for them. So stay tuned for some more Marvel Champions content. Thank you guys for watching.